What makes a setup great? Over the years, slowly but surely, I've figured out systems to extract as much as possible from any room and make it perfect for what I need. For a setup to be perfect in my eyes, it should be able to do these 9 things with ease. Film, edit videos, game, 3D print, do my hobbies, store my gear, organize everything, be comfortable, and be creative. And it all needs to fit in a small room without feeling cramped or cluttered. So let me break down just how I managed to do all of this. Let's start with the most important thing for me, the desk. This is the heart of any setup. My entire studio is built around this desk. So while I was in the process of updating my studio, Desky reached out and offered me a few of their products to try out. This video isn't sponsored by Desky or any of the products I show in this video. These are just my honest recs. I went with the 1800 by 750 millimeter size desk. The width is important for a hybrid setup, which I'll show later, and the depth is critical if you have a big monitor and a few desk accessories. It really makes a difference because it makes viewing more comfortable. It allows you to sit more ergonomically and not feel cramped. There's a couple of features I love about this desk over my previous ones though. It's thicker than my last desk, so less sag and more stability. My last one felt a little bit uneasy when I was leaning on it, but this one can hold about 140 kilos, and even at max height, it's a lot better. I also hated the amount that my old desk would wobble, including my monitors, so this Desky desk is really solid. Height range is also an important factor. I find the best part about a sit-stand desk is catering to your sitting height. And this one ranges between 60 centimeters and 125, and you can choose up to 4 presets. I just have 1 for sit, stand, and 2 for content creation. My only downside with this desk is that it is somewhat fingerprint prone. This seems like it will only be an issue with the black color. I really wish they used more of a matte coating like my previous desk. Now, sit-stand desks can be pretty expensive, but I would recommend getting any desk with the largest dimension possible for your room, specifically the depth. Overall, I'm really happy with this upgrade. It looks great, and I can tell that this is a premium product. Setup was also pretty straightforward as well. I also asked for a few accessories to make the desk even better. The first was this integrated cable management channel. Normally you just have a tray, which is a pain to access plugs and manage cables, but this one has 10 plugs directly under the desk. It also has these spring-loaded pins so you can easily open the tray and see what's in there and fiddle around. And a bonus is that you can squeeze cables at the top. So when you close the tray, they neatly come out the back. Awesome for cable management. With this Desky channel, you can also just have 1 cable running to the wall if you're efficient. I have a sub, and I also like to keep my PC on my drawers just because my desk already has quite a lot on it. So I do have some extra cables running back and forth. I also got this magnetic cable channel, which just keeps the cables neatly guided down one of the legs. It just snaps onto the back of the legs. Simple, but it's really effective. Once you put everything on the desk, it gets pretty heavy. So I added these wheels so I can easily move the desk if I need to access the back or if I need to reposition it for content. You can also lock these so it just prevents it from moving around. Now I sit more than I like to, so really I'm in this chair for most of my life, which is kind of sad when you say it like that, but it emphasizes just how important it is to have a well-constructed chair that supports you ergonomically. This is the Desky Pro Ergonomic Mesh Chair, which is honestly so comfortable. The mesh is soft and supportive. There is this tension control knob to provide resistance when you lean back. And for quite a stylish chair, you can adjust a lot. The height, tension control, arm height, lumbar support. There is a 3-position tilt lock, which are 3 defined positions to recline to depending on what you're doing. And the optional headrest can be moved up and down. One thing that's missing from most chairs is the ability to slide the seat back and forth depending on the length of your legs. This really affects your comfort and makes a huge difference. And thankfully, this has been included with this chair. I think it looks great and matches the overall vibe I have. The molded foam feels really comfy, which is great for long sessions. The construction is rock solid and feels really premium, and it gets pretty hot in Australia, so I love the airflow from a mesh chair. Something to note is that the midnight black is a brindle black, so there's like specks of lighter colors and a tinge of blue. It looks good, and it tends to hide a bit of the dust and fabric that is emphasized on black chairs normally, so that is a plus. You can also get this in a bunch of different colors too. Now, since I'm always shifting in my seat, I really do like a good footrest. This cushion one from Desky helps with ergonomics. You can adjust the angle depending on how you're sitting. The padding is pretty firm, but still feels soft, and is much better than just a standard plastic footrest. Now, I'm gonna switch out my approach and show you how I utilize my space to make it do everything I need. I'm a big believer in making the most with what you already have. So you don't always need to buy something new or expensive. Let's dive in. Filming is a huge part of what I do, so I need a space that's ready to go at a moment's notice. The first space is top-down shots, and for this, I use the edge of my long desk. My camera uses a generic light stand for a smaller footprint, a sandbag to keep it stable, half a boom arm because a regular one is just a little bit too long to squeeze behind my desk, and a ball head just to make the finer adjustments, just to make sure my camera is straight. The overhead rig is simple to set up and adjust, and you can easily tuck it away behind your desk without drawing too much attention. The black desk also acts as a backdrop, but you can also get some cheap colored foam boards. I also use my sit-stand desk to adjust the height if I need to frame the shot better. For talking headshots like this, I just decorated the wall behind me just to keep it clutter-free so I don't have to worry about tidying up. I just make sure that there is enough decor large enough to cover the surface for both short form and long form videos, depending on what I'm doing. The last space is for B-roll and lifestyle shots. I just need to capture products in their natural environment and showcase me using them. So ideally, every angle should look aesthetically pleasing. So I'm very intentional with my decorations to add color, contrast, and create an overall vibe that matches me and doesn't feel like a soulless room. The real magic though is in a few pieces of gear and some thoughtful organization to make transitioning between these different shots a lot easier. I attach quick release plates to all my cameras so I can easily snap these onto my tripods and my overhead rigs. I just think the screw-on mounts are a massive time waster. This little super clamp is great for POV shots. Even a magic arm can be good for this too. I use this little vlog pod to get quick little shots around the place. This one is cool because you can press the button and the legs fling out and it's just an instant setup. I really have grown to hate tripods, so I use this light stand instead. When you extend tripods, they just take up a large footprint, but this Ulanzi one does not. It just has much shorter legs and a low height, and I use a sandbag depending on the situation to make it more stable. It's also way easier to adjust the height. You just unlock and adjust, and it's great for fast B-roll. I don't normally use a teleprompter, but I've gotten it back out recently just to look at my talking points when they are hard to remember, and you'll make less mistakes. I do use a sturdier tripod just because it is a bulky rig and I don't need to adjust it frequently. I also use a 7-inch monitor to check my framing for my various formats, see my focus area, get my exposure dialed in, and see what I'm filming on a slightly bigger screen. I would love to swap this out for a wireless monitor though at some point. For short form content, I use this L bracket which rotates 90 degrees with the press of a button. I also have this Shure mic just hooked up so I can do some quick voiceovers if I need. For lighting, I have two small lights. I like this small rig one, which has an inbuilt battery, and this one is controlled by a remote so I don't have to keep going up to the light. I don't have room for a large softbox and they don't look the best. So instead, I just aim these lights at walls and they bounce off to create this nice softer light. I just put the small rig light on a mini tripod and I can easily move it around to see what looks good. The other one is just permanently in the corner on a mic stand actually, and that's just to raise the brightness of the room so the shadows aren't so dark. It isn't the most elegant solution, but it works. For accent lighting, I use this Philips light strip, which provides a diffused RGB accent if I need. I also have this IKEA lamp with a smart bulb that I just aim at the wall to provide some lighting to the other side of the room when I film my 3D prints. For natural light, I also have some day-night blinds with a sheer layer, so it just diffuses some of that sunlight coming into the room, so it can make it much softer, and I can reduce the light depending on the shot. One last thing is I have a small charging hub on my shelf. It is by no means fancy, it looks bad, but it does the job. My setup needs to be capable of gaming as well as photo and video editing. I like PCs with a smaller form factor, so I built this one with a RTX 3080 GPU, and I found that the 32 gigabytes of RAM has been a little bit low on occasion. So ideally, I am looking to upgrade, especially for 4K gaming, but this has been holding up so far. When it comes to a computer monitor, I really need color accuracy just because color grading is so important for my workflow. 32-inch display for productivity and gaming. 4K resolution because I want to see my videos in their native resolution, and I like good graphics in my games. Lastly, 120 frames and above is the sweet spot for frame rate. Any lower and you can start to notice that. Now, a few years ago, this monitor would have easily been like 3,000 Australian, but today there are plenty of options. And I just picked up this OLED LG monitor that has been an absolute beast. The OLED panel is amazing for color grading and vibrant for games, whilst the dual 240, 480 Hz refresh rate is amazing, which my current PC can't even hit at times. So it really feels like a no compromise monitor at an affordable price. Regarding the rest of my peripherals, it's all based around comfort. I'm a mechanical keyboard enthusiast, so I like having a comfortable keyboard that has a satisfying sound as well. I'm just using a Yunzi AL75, which I've modded. I like the stock version and I made a video on it, but I do love a silent board with some subtle tones of thockiness. It's just a nice way to add some style to your setup and improve your typing experience. I like versatility when it comes to audio, so sometimes I rock headphones when I'm editing and I need to hear the audio quality. For that, I am using Sony XM4s. I still love them, even though there are two newer models. At other times, I don't want to have anything anything in my ears, so I'm just using these cheap Logitech monitors that I've had for ages. I also like that they came with a sub because I very much need that punchy bass in my life. For gaming, I also make use of the microphone by linking it to an audio interface. It often feels weird not hearing my own voice, so this allows me to balance the ratio of hearing my own voice versus the sound of the game. Not much to say about my mouse, it's one of the most popular ones. Just find one that's comfortable, has customizable buttons, and connects to multiple devices. I also like the side scroll wheel, which is great for editing. But I really would prefer one without rubber that gets munted over time. I'm also using the slim desk mat from Orbikey, which has a nice magnetic groove on the side for my pen and to hold a cable if I need. It also has dual layers so I can squeeze a note or two underneath it. And they put these silicone dots underneath to prevent sliding, which is a major gripe I have with other felt mouse pads. And I also have an Xbox controller, just depending on the game. I love 3D printing. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So I love having easy access to mine, and my setup is pretty simple. I just have a K1 Max just sitting on a set of drawers, and it is mostly sturdy because it is heavy. This particular printer is great for space and speed, but it definitely has some questionable design choices and irritating issues that have pop up. Fortunately, you can print some mods to overcome these issues, and I've just placed the printer so that the rear vent goes straight out the window. I've also put all the tools I need for 3D printing directly under it in the drawer, and for my filament, which is pretty bulky, I just have stored mine in the top of my cupboard, and I've just put multiple layers behind each other. Australia can be pretty humid, and the filament just sitting there exposed for a few months has the chance to absorb moisture, which ruins your prints. So I usually keep them in some vacuum sealed bags, but I don't have enough. And since that's the case, I recently grabbed this filament dryer just because I had some issues. So it's a great way to get rid of some of that moisture before you start printing with the filament. I have a lot of hobbies, and even though I don't have a dedicated room, the trick is finding a small space and using the right gear to make it work. So I just use the end of my desk as well. There's enough room for me to tinker, build stuff, and just create some art. For things like Gunpla modeling, to prevent mess, I use this extractor to suck up any dust when I'm sanding. It actually does a pretty good job for minimizing mess. And I also have this cutting mat, which protects the desk from any scratches. I also have some PPE for my eyes and lungs. Yes, I do look a bit ridiculous, but I'm fine with it. And I also have some cases just to hold all my stuff. I do have a lot of ideas to create a small little workshop, so I do think this setup will definitely evolve over time. Now, storage and organization is key for a hybrid setup because you'll probably have a lot of stuff and not a whole bunch of space to put it. So I like to find a balance between style and storage, so it feels intentional rather than just like a storage warehouse. My main storage is this IKEA shelf. Like with most of these IKEA shelves, you can customize the amount of drawers you want. There's different sizes, etc. I just went with half drawers, half shelves, just for a bit more versatility. So I store all my camera gear and my general tools in these drawers, and I just cut up some felt for the bottom of the drawers so my gear is cushioned and doesn't roll around. The shelves are nice and sturdy, and I've set them wide enough apart just to fit my large filament dryer, and the rest of my shelves just to house my photo printer, camera bags, portable gaming consoles, decor, and hide any cables that are just running around. I also have two side drawers, one for my 3D printing and the other just for my general office stuff. I do recommend getting one with 3+ drawers just to maximize on space though. I also threw a shelf I had laying around in my cupboard. This helps take advantage of that empty space. I do wish it was slightly higher, but I didn't want to buy a new one. In my cupboard, I just store my filament, Gunpla models, and a teleprompter up top. In my shelf, I have these stackable IKEA storage boxes. I'm not the biggest fan. Ideally, I would like some narrow bins so I could have a few more. But I also have these foldable storage basket, which I just put my hobby stuff in. And when I'm not doing my hobbies, I use these touch lamps just to light the shelf so I can see a little bit better. In terms of organization, I used to use these IKEA drawer organizers or random trays just to keep my things organized, but I found they weren't quite cutting it. Now I use a 3D printer for a lot of my organization, which has been a game changer. The system I use is called Gridfinity. It's a system that allows for custom molds and storage of your gear and breaks them up into grids. It's modular, so you can easily swap around the layout and you have a place for all your items, which is amazing. The best part is there's a ton of free models and there's even a free plugin which allows you to create your own, which is what I did. I'm still in the process of doing this. It's not perfect. They're all mismatched bins and so forth. So I do need to finish that off. Next, I needed prints for my most frequently accessed items. I found a few for my headphones to hang off my desk, a Rubik's Cube for some quick sessions, and even just my Xbox controller, which is right near my cable to recharge it. I like to use this marble filament, which looks quite premium. It matches my aesthetic and it hides the layer lines better. And even after a bit of sanding, you never even tell that these are 3D printed. Next up is this little modular tray, which is great just to store some SD cards, my unboxing knife, some markers, and a few knickknacks you have laying around. I printed these stackable hex baskets to hold some of the chemicals in my room. One last thing to really polish off your setup is cable management. Nothing kills a vibe quicker than some stray cables. However, my cheat code to cable management is just a roll of hook and loop, which is just Velcro. But if you buy some rolls with some adhesive, you can cut these into small pieces and place these little squares along the areas you want the cables to run, which makes it really easy to mount things to. You just grab a hole of Velcro without the sticky side, wrap it around the cable, measure it to the size you need, cut it, secure it, and now you can stick all these things to the underside of your desk. This is just a really cheap way of doing a lot of cable management, and it's a very simple process. And because I like to put my PC on my side drawers and not on my desk, it does create additional cable management. So rather than seeing some of these exposed cables, I use some braided cable wrap to cover them up. I just think it makes running cables to the same spot look a little bit neater. And lastly, I have this cable management box, which also hides the plugs and excess cables in a neat and tidy box. Now, a huge part of any setup is the decor and the creative aspects. Making your room look good does a few things. It's practical for filming because every shot you take looks aesthetic. It makes you actually want to work in your room. And I feel like it becomes a creative home because it's filled with elements that relate to me and my journey. Now, when you approach trying to make a room look good, I just try and fill in large blank spaces because I think emptiness looks bad and feels soulless. So let me run you through a few simple and cheap tricks to fill your room without being cluttered or falling into unnecessary consumerism. A simple one for me is pictures. I don't think enough people have their own on display. I just have a few different printers for small and medium-sized photos, and that really makes it a lot easier when it comes to printing photos out and putting them up. Lego is also an easy one. There's something for everyone these days. I love F1, so I 3D printed a little wall mount and attached a 3M hook to this Ferrari. I also got this little film camera. Souvenirs and trinkets are also great for decor if you like traveling and you visit quirky little shops. Just get stuff that you're interested in. Artwork and posters are an obvious one, but if you want to take it a step further, try your hand at making your own little abstract prints or creating your own photo posters. Also recently installed this poster frame, which makes swapping out designs really easy. And it's actually pretty awesome seeing your own stuff on your walls, even if it's bad. We always get better over time, so just go for it. Now, I struggle to keep plants alive, so I'm back down to one real plant and a fake one on the side with less light. Other things could be coffee table books, lamps, banners, old tech, 3D prints, games, or even toys. Just find some cool stuff, and even lights casting color onto a wall can create the illusion of filling up an empty space. Now, when it comes to actually putting stuff up, personally, I embrace a little bit of chaos, different shapes, sizes, colors, and textures. I just put it everywhere. I find that it helps hide the imperfections. You don't need to worry about it being straight, and it's just easier to put stuff up, take it down, or replace it. Half the time, I don't put up stuff just because it takes up too much effort. So for most of my stuff, I just use blue tack now. I know it's not an elegant solution, but it's easy to use. I also use these 3M hooks. I think the Velcro ones are good for larger items and posters. I also use these clear little hooks for hanging small things on my wall. And so far, nothing has fallen off. Now, I've already talked a lot about lighting, but cozy lighting is super important for any setup. My big light is atrocious, so that does not make me feel relaxed. So being able to have softer lights that I can adjust on my phone is a must. I just have some smart lighting in my floor lamp, my desk strip, and I use them for accents when creating content. I just have a few presets on my phone depending on what I'm doing, so that way I can have some warm and cozy vibes or cooler ones for a gaming session or something. It's really up to you and your preference. I also have the screen bar, which helps a little if your eyes are feeling strained. The day-night blinds I have are also a nice way to control the amount of light you let into the room and also control how soft that light is. It's also a must for me because my computer monitor's on this side of the room, so I don't want heaps of glare on my monitor. Inevitably, there are times when you just need a lot of light, and I just use my corner light that I use for content creation. I put it on 100% and it is super bright. Ultimately, what makes a setup great isn't necessarily the things you have in it. I think it's great if it does three things. It allows you to work, play, and do the things you love with minimal resistance. It's comfortable to be in for long periods, and it's a reflection of yourself. Your setup is always evolving. Mine is still far from where I want it to be, so it's all about incremental upgrades over time. Don't feel like you need to be influenced into getting new stuff. A lot of my stuff I got a while ago, and I just find new ways to reuse it. I also have new things I want to do with my space, but if I just do it one step at a time, it makes it less stressful and I'm less likely to put it off.